Matheus Cunha is a Manchester United player, and today he dropped an interview. So we're going to be doing a little bit of a reaction to that, and I'll try to explain it to people that cannot see the video. So I've done a bunch of screenshots, and I'll try to go through it a little bit by bit and break down the 16 minutes. And all I can say is this this man is giddy, and it gets me very excited. His English is very good, and I couldn't help but just want to listen. And I just can't wait to watch this man play football at Old Trafford, scoring goals, assisting, and all that good stuff that we've been missing. Make sure we smash the like button though, because the like target today, if you can, it would be nice. Anything between 100 and 150 is great. Anything more is a bonus. So big up to you all. Maybe I can aim higher, but we can get straight down into it in a second. But for me, yeah, look, the interviewer was asking some very good questions, very simple, wasn't making it difficult. And this is a player that wants to be here. He supports United, his family are all about United. He's talking about his journey. He's just very, very giddy, and I really like that. And it literally, to me, it comes across as someone that wants to definitely play for the badge. That's the most important part. And there's a lot of credit going into different directions. You could even say some of the players, the manager, the club itself, even from family. And it's like it was meant to be. And yeah, I really can't wait. It's as simple as that. I think he's got to wear number 10. I've got a big feeling. But anyways, let's get straight down into this saga for Cunha. So for me, look, if you ain't seen it, official screenshot, as you can see him in a Manchester United shirt, and he's pretty much having an introduction. And you look at this image and think, the colors just fit correct, don't they? They just fit correct. And it makes sense in the red, the new Manchester United kit. And now he's actually wearing the kit. I feel like, you know what? I actually kind of like the home shirt. I thought the black bits that are coming over from here on near the shoulder, I thought they were going to be a lot more thick. I quite like the mixture on the sleeves as well, the black and the white. So I thought we'd just do a little bit of a kit review. And I just thought, you know what? This looks really, really well designed, to be fair. I was actually getting onto Adidas because of how am I liking the away kit and the third kit more than our home kit, right? But we know what we're going to expect in a home kit, and hopefully it brings us some success. But in the early stages, Cunha was mentioning, like, with Manchester United, it's a dream come true. It's a dream come true, and he cannot wait to get started. Ever since he was basically a little boy, thinking of Old Trafford, it's an unreal feeling. And the interviewer just basically gets him, how do you say it? A bit more prepped up, ready to go. He's smiling, as you can see. I believe in the first whole minute, this guy could not stop smiling. And it's good signs. It's nice when you want to see someone that wants to play for your club for once, not just here for money or other things. I mean, it's an important part, don't get me wrong. But yeah, let's just get straight more into it, because I'm going to get giddy more myself. The interview then asks, what's the biggest lesson you've learned to yourself as a man growing up? And he basically talks about his journey getting over to England. Like, how did he get from Brazil over to England? What was the journey happening there? And what kind of sacrifices? He talks about he comes from this small town in the north of Brazil. It's not so big. It's not busy. There's beaches. It's beautiful, basically. It's like paradise. And a team comes along from the south of Brazil, something completely different. I can't remember what they're called. Coritiba. Curitiba, I think they're called. They're in the south of Brazil. It's more city-like, and it's 3 hours away. You have to catch a plane to go over there. And, it's a lot of sacrificing, being away from the family. And then before you know it, he gets to move over to Germany, to, I think, Leipzig, if I'm correct. And then he done okay. Then he does really well at, in Hertha Berlin. And then, yeah, Atletico, different, getting to know the La Liga before settling at Wolves, before United. And he was just talking about, sometimes it gets to a point where you're a little bit empty inside. And yeah, that was pretty much his journey from there. And then in 2017, as he was playing for his Brazilian team as well, he actually played against Manchester United, if people didn't know. And this was the first time he got to encounter Manchester United, and he was very giddy, and he was very excited, and he knew that he had to make an impression if anything was ever going to happen, because this is a competition in a pre-season, and you never know what can happen. But anyways, back in 2017, I don't exactly remember the game, but he actually had a really, really good game to the point. Actually, United actually scouted him. The directors went over to Coritiba, and I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, but they were asking for his name, and then he came onto the radar, and he was buzzing. Like, this guy's smile when he was talking about it, right? He just lit up again because he's like, I can't believe it. Manchester United are interested in me. My dreams might come true. You never know. And yeah, from there, he was basically saying like this was meant to be. He feels like this was meant to be. It was always going to happen. The first encounter to now has been the journey, and it was always going to happen. It's like a match made in heaven, basically. So yeah, big up to him. He was getting very, very giddy. And you know what? The way he was explaining himself as well, very clear, very concise. And I was really liking it. How he conducted himself. It's just like a kid, right? If I felt like I was listening to a kid that's gone to the, it's like me going to Old Trafford for the first time when I was really young, or watching Man United back in the Millennial Stadium against Millwall in the FA Cup final 2004. It felt like that as he was explaining, and even the interviewer, he was loving it. I feel like he's a Man United fan, and there was at one point I'll explain a little bit further, and then he was talking about how did he came to be a Manchester United supporter, and he's going along lines of his journey. What used to happen like every weekend, obviously his older brother supports Manchester United, and the only way they could watch the Premier League was actually in their grandmother's house. And so every weekend, they would get together and they would watch Manchester United on the TV back in the day. And that's how we basically got to have this feeling of, being a part of the Manchester United fan base. Like, I'm pretty sure we all are. And yeah, he was just explaining all of that. And he was saying even back then, we used to play on the gravel. I think if everyone knows, basically street football on the streets of Brazil. And they used to, call pitches like Old Trafford, and back in the day, maybe Highbury's or Emirates. I don't know. But he was just talking about the big famous stadiums. That's what, he grew up on. So Manchester United's always been a part of him. And then he goes on to talk about his idol. Now, if you think of the great number 10s at Manchester United, and there's countless names, right? But the one that he said that he looked up to is pretty much right in front of you. He explained, Wayne Rooney, even though they're very different kind of players, he's the one he looked up to, the way he used to just produce that magic, hardworking, used to create something out of nothing. And he aspires to basically be like a Wayne Rooney, and that's who he used to watch growing up. Obviously, Wayne Rooney's a good, 12 years older than him, I think, 11 years older. And obviously, if you're watching a young Wayne Rooney, he was my favorite player growing up as well. So, it kind of makes sense. This guy's only a few years younger than me. Wayne Rooney was an outstanding player, but as he didn't want to just focus on one player. Of course, he mentions other players. Like, he was again the giddy, the self-kid like. It all came out of him talking about like, I just remember all the players from back in the day. Carrick, Van der Sar, and he's like, oh, he's going back to the 07s and 08s. Okay. And he was just talking about, Paul Scholes, Ryan Giggs. He was just, again, it's like the kid came out of him, Maybe we call him El Nino, even though it's not Portuguese, So there we go. And then this was cheeky. This bit here, if anyone remembers this, of course, he was talking about, he played 5 times against Manchester United. And for me, I was like, this is cheeky. The interviewer is asking, you played against Manchester United. You lost 3, but recently you won twice. In one of those games, you scored from a corner. Did you mean it? And he started laughing, and I'm thinking, is this a dig at Onana? Has he legit had a dig against him? And I'm thinking, okay, that doesn't bode well, because if I'm Onana watching this interview, I'm thinking, you cheeky little, do you know what I mean? And he was asking to be meant it, and he started giggling, and basically, you saying the Wolves, the staff came over to him and says, he didn't want to say it, but you should aim for a certain area. And of course, at that time, I think it was earlier this season, being there just got lobbed from a corner as well. And Man United's set piece drill, like defending them, were piss poor, to put it nicely. And then, yeah, he said it was 50-50, but I feel like he meant it, because the way he was smiling, I feel like he didn't want to put too much disrespect on Onana. Like, if they went more into it, then you never know. You might even have a training ground bust up already before he's even begun. And the best question was, out of all this for me, was this one. The interview was asking about, how do you feel basically about the pressure, knowing, the football club is known for having huge pressure worldwide. And you can see it through the interview's expressions. He said good. He said good after his reply. He's like, pressure doesn't matter to me. You know, I'm free of this. You know, he feels like he plays with a lot of freedom. Pressure doesn't really get to him. He welcomes it pretty much. You know, because playing for Manchester United as one of the main players, it comes with big responsibilities. And I feel like when it comes down to mentality, this is something that this club has been lacking for a long time. So hearing something like what he's come out with is obviously a lot of players are going to say, you know, they don't think about this stuff, blah, blah, blah. But it's the way he answered it was very convincing in my eyes. So yeah, again, moving on from that, it was just nice to hear as a fan, just as a fan. And then they were talking about like what was the biggest reason even just coming to Manchester United, even what was the biggest factor, and he's just basically saying United's the one. United's the one for me. Easy choice, easy pickings. You know, doesn't matter. We know that he acknowledged that, you know, the season was pretty poor. It doesn't matter, you know, but he's going to help this situation out, come together as a team. And you talk about the manager as well. What was the biggest factors? And he was saying, you know, other than Casemiro being helping him out, yada, yada, yada. He was saying, you know, Ruben Amorim, you know, has he had any interactions? Like, yeah, he was a good reason why I end up coming, but he also just loves the club as well, which is the biggest factor. But Amorim, of course, helps, and you know, the club also helping out that decision. But yeah, overall, it was a pretty good interview, and I wanna see the next one, and then the next one, and hopefully the next two interviews are gonna be Mbeumo and Gyökeres. That's my hopes, but who knows? Anyways, drop a like, comment as well. Hopefully I'll explain this as well as I can. And yeah, on to the next interview for Cunha, because we want to see some goals before preseason, or during preseason. Yeah, anyways, not helping myself there. In a bit.